14. Number 2 is about chemical disasters. In the year 2002, I had a dream about some type of chemical disaster taking place inside the United States. Let us know how a person can withstand a chemical situation or a chemical disaster from studying Homeland Security and from studying CDC emergency readiness documents. Homeland Security says a chemical attack is a deliberate release of toxic gas. Let us learn from Homeland Security, CDC, and NYCDH emergency readiness documents how a person can withstand a chemical disaster. Homeland Security says a chemical attack is the deliberate release of toxic gas, liquid or solid, that can poison people and the environment. Possible signs of chemical threat. Many people suffering from watery eyes, twitching, choking, having trouble breathing, or losing coordination. Many sick or dead birds, fish, or small animals are also cause for suspicion. If you see signs of chemical attack, find clean air quickly. Quickly try to define the impacted area or where the chemical is coming from, if it's possible. Take immediate action to get away. If the chemical is inside a building where you are, get out of the building without passing through the contaminated area, if possible. If you can't get out of the building or find clean air without passing through the area where you see signs of a chemical attack, it may be better to move as far away as possible and shelter in place. If you are outside, quickly decide what is the fastest way to find clean air. Consider if you can get out of the area or if you should go inside the closest building and shelter in place. If you think you have been exposed to a chemical, and if your eyes are watering, your skin is stinging, and you are having trouble breathing, you may have been exposed to a chemical. If you think you may have been exposed to a chemical, strip immediately and wash. Look for a hose, fountain, or other source of water, and wash with soap if possible. Be sure not to scrub the chemical into your skin. Seek emergency medical attention. Now, CDC says, some chemical accidents or attacks, such as a train derailment or terrorist incident, may make staying put dangerous. In such cases, it may be safer for you to evacuate or leave the immediate area. You may need to go to an emergency shelter after you leave the immediate area. You will hear from the local police, emergency coordinator, or governmental official on the radio or television emergency broadcast system if you need to evacuate. If there is a code red or severe terror alert, you should pay attention to radio or television broadcast so you will know right away if an evacuation order is made for your area. Every emergency is different, and during any emergency, people may have to evacuate or to shelter in place depending on where they live. Act quickly and follow the instructions of local emergency coordinators, such as law enforcement personnel, fire departments, or local elected leaders. Every situation can be different, so local coordinator could give you special instructions to follow for a particular situation. Local emergency coordinators may direct people to evacuate homes or office and go to an emergency shelter. If so, emergency coordinators will tell you how to get to the shelter. If you have children at school, they may be sheltered at the school. You should not try to get to the school if the children are being sheltered there. Transporting them from the shelter will put them and you at increased risk. The emergency shelter will have most supplies that people need. The emergency coordinator will tell you which supplies to bring with you, but you may also want to prepare a portable supply kit. Be sure to bring any medication you are taking. If you have time, call a friend or relative in another area to tell them where you are going and that you are safe. Local telephone lines may be jammed in an emergency, so you should plan ahead to have an out-of-state contact with whom to leave messages. If you do not have private transportation, make plans in advance of emergency to identify people who can give you a ride. Evacuating and sheltering in this way should keep you safer than if you stayed at home or at workplace. You will most likely not be in a shelter for more than a few hours. Emergency coordinators will let you know when it is safe to leave the shelter and anything you may need to do to make sure it is safe to return home. And NYCDH says, listening agents are man-made chemical warfare agents. Exposure to these chemicals can cause skin blisters and burns, as well as irritation to the eyes and lungs. Examples of listening agents are mustard agents, such as sulfur mustard, also known as mustard gas. Example of listening agents, also known as mustard gas, and nitrogen mustard. Where are listening agents found and how are they used? Listening agents are not found in nature. They are man-made chemicals. They were the most commonly used chemical warfare agents during World War I. Today, more than a dozen countries have listening agents. How might I be exposed to a listening agent? Listening agents could be used by terrorists. It can be released in areas as liquid or vapor. You are exposed to a listening agent only when you come into contact with it. The most likely route of exposure are by breathing it in or by skin or eye contact. Listening agents can easily pass through clothing and get onto the skin. Accidental releases from military storage or laboratories could also cause exposure. Listening agents can last from 1 to 2 days in the environment under normal weather conditions, and from weeks to months under very cold conditions. The vapor can also be carried long distances by wind. How can blistering agents affect my health? Contact with a blistering agent can cause bodily injury. The extent of injury depends on the amount you are exposed to, how long you are exposed, and how you come in contact. Exposure to a blistering agent gas is usually not deadly. When sulfur mustard was used during World War I, it killed fewer than 5% of the people who were exposed and got medical care. Exposure to a liquid blistering agent can cause second and third degree skin burns. It can be particularly harmful to sweaty body parts such as underarm areas. Exposure may also cause skin blisters within a few days. Extensive skin burning can be fatal. Exposure to blistering agent can make the eyes burn and eyelids swell or make a person blink a lot. Extensive eye exposure can cause permanent blindness. Breathing in blistering agents can cause coughing, bronchitis, and other breathing symptoms. Exposure to very high levels can cause long-term respiratory disease or death. Blistering agent may cause cancer in the airways, lungs, skin, and maybe in other areas of the body years after exposure. It is not known whether blistering agents can affect people's ability to reproduce. What are signs and symptoms of exposure to a blistering agent? People may not know right away that they have been exposed to a blistering agent. Depending on the agent and the amount of the exposure, signs and symptoms may take 2 through 24 hours to appear. Some people may have symptoms sooner. Specific effects of exposures include skin, redness, and itching. May occur 2 through 8 hours after exposure. Yellow blistering of affected skin may appear later. Eyes, irritation,